Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Variety Gaming Podcast, episode 2 of season 3. We've got a packed show from the galaxy far, far away to the local card shop down the street. And yes, that was a terrible card joke. I'm Rhaiu, and I'm joined as always by my shaggy bearded co-host, Atrax. What have you brought for us for this episode?
Oh man, I've been excited the past 2 weeks for Deadzone Rogue. So shout out to Joey Feta, our good friend of the show, who actually, because of him playing the demo back in March, the demo popped up in my recommended. So shout out to him. I played the limited time demo. It is a FPS roguelike, a lot like Gunfire Reborn or Risk of Rain 2, that type of thing. Really enjoyed it. In the demo, there's only Zone 1. That's going to be the gameplay that you're seeing. Only Zone 1. A ton of replayability even in the demo. 30 rounds, or they're called sectors in Deadzone Rogue, in the first zone, and my first couple of runs I didn't even make it through. It's not that it wasn't too hard, it's just that because of how this roguelike works, where you have a run, you gain tech and upgrade points, then when that run is over, you upgrade your base stats such as health and shield regen and damage, that sort of thing, and then you go in for another run. And so, because of that kind of gameplay loop, it's not that it wasn't too hard, it's just that I wasn't really, scaled for it. I think if I had tried really hard, I could have made it to round 30 on my first playthrough, but doesn't matter anyway. I had a lot of fun with just the demo, lots of replayability in the demo, and that really incentivized me to play and buy the full game. I held off for maybe 5 hours of playing the demo. And I was like, I'm gonna wait until the paycheck comes in, and it did, and then I got the full game, more zones, and not just zones, but specific mission types. So for example, in Zone 1, there is a sub-mission type that you can run in, and the enemies will only drop certain weapons and certain perks, which, if you complete the mission, you unlock those perks for your main zone runs. But these specific missions, like the first one, is shotguns only. And so the enemies will only drop shotguns, and you need to work on your close range. And the perks that you get in that mission and unlock when you complete the mission are like hip fire spray and close quarters combat specific. So now you've unlocked those for your next runs in the main zones, and I really think that's cool. Super fun mechanic, and the gameplay in general just really keeps you going. I've had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, that's going to be the gameplay that I'm recording for this week. Because it's a roguelike, I've replayed the same missions a few times. And so I haven't really delved into Zone 2 yet. I've just been focused on doing the missions for Zone 1, which are, like I mentioned, the close range one. The next one was more of a long range engagement. The enemy variety is also super cool. The aesthetic is you are slowly clearing a ship. I haven't paid attention to the lore too much, but the basic lore gameplay is you go into this ship and you're clearing it out of all of the different robots. And like I mentioned, so you start with Sector 1. And when you first spawn into a new zone, you start off stealthed, and you can walk around. I haven't found any enemies that detect you in stealth yet, but you can walk around and there's explosive barrels in the zones that you can pick up and move, and it doesn't, alert the enemies, at least again from the zones I've played. And you can set the different elemental type barrels if they spawn in the sector in maybe a big group of enemies, or some enemies will roam around the sector. So you set it next to a group, and then you wait for another group to kind of roam over, and then you can blow up the explosive barrels and then all of a sudden you're out of stealth, and so then the rest of the sector is alerted, and then the firefight begins. So I like that kind of twist on a roguelike as well, where each zone or each wave, each sector, you kind of have this opportunity to play a little bit strategically, and there are some perks that increase like your damage with explosive barrels and your damage while stealth or melee damage, stuff like that. So there is a variety of builds that you can slowly gain as you play more and more, as you clear missions, as you clear zones. And it's a super, super fun game. I know, Rhaiu, you are really into roguelikes. That's one of your favorite genres, and I've been really excited to start talking about it because I see you there, bud, just looking at the Steam page, and it's just, yeah, it's a ton of fun, and I highly recommend it to anybody who likes roguelikes, or this popped up in your Steam page because it's relatively cheap too, 25 USD. So yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, and I promise for those that are watching the video footage, at least with the cameras on, you might think I'm not paying attention or listening to what he's saying. He is right. I am looking at the Steam page. Roguelikes, by far, 100% one of my favorite genres. And the fact that this is a first-person shooter. The one question I do have that, yeah, I don't know if you've well, actually, you didn't mention it. Do you know how many people it's limited to as far as the co-op portion?
I want to say 4.
Okay.
But I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Well, that's something I would like to find. It doesn't say what it's limited to. That's kind of what I've been looking for. It doesn't say anything in the description about it. It just says grow stronger with each death, solo or in co-op. It just says it's online co-op. I don't see anything about party restriction. I'd imagine that there is something like a standard four player party restriction, but no, this is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is 4.
Yeah,
I want to say it's 4. Yeah.
So I'm really curious to try it. I missed the demo, but you know me, I'm a sucker for a roguelike, so I probably will end up just dropping the 25 on it just to get in and play it. Because I mean, right now on Steam, as we're recording this episode, there is I believe it's the developer that is streaming some of the gameplay, and even just some of the videos that are on the Steam page are really, really cool. I really like.
I found it.
Oh, you did?
Yep. Adventure on your own or conquer the ship in a co-op squad of up to 3 players.
Okay, so it is 3. Oh, it's even less.
There it is, 3. Boom.
All right, cool. So 3 people. So Ed, look, there you go. You, me, and Feta can jump into it.
Boom.
Get some gaming done.
Got the squad. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm watching the gameplay and just, you know, again, the videos that are on Steam and some of the developer playing. This is really cool. The graphics look really cool. The environment, the combat looks really awesome. And I like how there are the different missions that you were mentioning before for the different zones for you to go in and make progress. So it certainly sounds like there's a lot of replayability to it. I am probably going to buy this and play it as soon as we're done recording this episode.
Yes, that's what I like to hear. We're gonna, dude. That's what we'll do. We'll record it, so then we have the co-op gameplay. You know what I mean for the podcast. Problem solved. Look at that. Look how wonderful that is. Here at the Variety Gaming Podcast, we just buy games on a whim because it's like, oh, huh? Here we go. A friend recommended it, and it looks fun to me. So yeah, why not?
And that's the funniest thing is I think I have spent more money in video games since doing this show. Just from both of us going back and forth, it'd be like, hey, you ever try this? No, I haven't tried that before. No, you should try it. It's really fun.
I think I've actually bought less games because I know that you're going to recommend something that I want to get. And so then it's like, I'll wait for VGP or something like that. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, it's always just a good time.
That's what I love, though, man. That's what we're all about here at the Variety Gaming Podcast. And like I said, it's interesting that they did a limited time demo. I'm not sure like what the choice was behind that, but I hope that they bring it back maybe during the Steam summer sale or something like that, because people really should be able to try this game. It is in early access, so maybe that's why. I don't know. Again, I don't know.
Well, and so something I'm looking at now, if you're a big gamer like we are and you get into early access games, One thing I always recommend folks, take a look at when it says early access, and then there's like a little drop down from the actual developer, like why they've decided to put their game in early access. And some of it, for Deadzone, what they're talking about, they got 1,000 reviews in the demo and 9 out of 10 rating just from the community when they released that demo. So that's something that when you get that much feedback that quickly for something that is such a short gameplay session for people, that, yeah, go ahead, throw it in early access. People will play it, people will give you feedback, and you never know. I mean, this is our opportunity as gamers to influence the games in good directions, hopefully. Because if there's something that you want to see, this is the time to get it and make your opinions, your voice heard about it. Not just for breaking the game, but if you think of a certain weapon or a certain feature or things like that that might make it a little bit better, throw it in there. You never know, might get in there.
And I don't know how some people feel about this, but they're, like you mentioned, why is this game in early access? Their replies are basically it's in early access until chapter 3 is completed, which I'm assuming is going to be the end of the game. I don't know. And once 1.0 releases, once chapter 3 is done, then 1.0 will release. And they plan to increase the game price after early access to reflect the new content and features that are done during early access. So, and this is just from what I've played so far, I would say $25 is worth chapters 1 and 2. You get at least 25 hours, if not more, out of the game. And it's a quality roguelike, at least, again, from what I've played. Like, the main goal of roguelikes is to just go through over and over again and slowly increase your power so you can play harder missions and unlock a couple of new weapons. But, at least from what I've played, I would compare this game to like Gunfire Reborn. And Gunfire Reborn, they add new stuff every once in a while, and the DLC for Gunfire costs money. So it makes sense that once they add more to the game that the price would go up, but sounds like if you buy early access, then you will get that added content because they're gonna release the full game, and again, there's nothing here that says that players who are in early access will have to pay for that. So $25, especially if it's on sale, you find it on sale maybe during the Steam summer sale or some other random sale that they have, throw this game on your wish list if the gameplay looks fun to you, because I've been having a blast with this game.
No, that's awesome. And $25, I think that's something I've noticed a little bit more recently of a trend is the games that are in early access, they're priced a little lower than the initial price release. One of the games, when I get into it, RuneScape Dragon Wilds, they did the same thing. Their introductory early access price is lower, but they have it stated that once the game does fully release, it is going to go up in price. In today's pricing market with video games at $70, and people are upset that it's it's $70 for an incomplete game and all that. $25 for early access, probably not going to have to pay for the rest of the game outside of any DLC stuff. That's a fair thing, and I think our measuring scale as far as value to dollars has always been kind of the hours played versus what you're paying. So if you can get 25 hours out of the game, then you've gotten your money's worth. So
yeah,
really glad to see.
There are some games that don't necessarily meet that. Maybe they're more expensive or maybe they're less expensive. But for me, if I can get at least $1 an hour out of a game, then I consider that a win. I mean, if you go to a movie, it costs you $20 for a ticket and an extra $20 for popcorn. Not actually, it's probably more like $10. But at least out here. So, like that's relatively the price of a game. That's half of a game if you have two people going, I don't know. That's how I view it in comparison to entertainment in general. But yeah, highly recommend Deadzone Rogue. And in other gaming news, kind of moving on just a little bit, I've been playing more First Descendant. Touched on that a lot last episode. Just another little update. I have all of the components for Serena. I just have to research all of them. And then she will be done. She is the latest descendant, and for the battle pass, I need to reach level 40 with her in order to gain some of the currency for the battle pass. So that's been my main focus right now. It's been a lot of fun. The way you get the Serena parts are by doing the latest area, the broken boundary areas, and they only give you either the new weapon or the new descendant parts, which are nice. So Serena, and I forget what the new weapon, the new ultimate weapon is for the latest area. But either way, it's been a lot of fun running those zones. They have some different mission types, which is kind of cool. If you complete the early part of the mission in a certain time, then you go one way. If you complete it after that time, then you go another way, which is a cool little alteration in how things are done. Generally speaking, you go the one way because you're just speed running it and mad farming, so you kind of run that path a lot, but it is cool to have that option. I like that they're trying to do different things with missions. That's been a lot of fun to see. And then the other thing that I've been trying to farm up is a tactical round weapon. All of them, well, not all of them, a good majority of them are beam rifles, and I don't like beam rifles. And I want something that's like literally anything else. It could be anything else but a beam rifle. And the one that I have now, the Greg's Reversed Fate, is not ideal. Like, it's okay, but it's not very fun. So I've been farming the other one. I believe it's called the Secret Garden, if I remember correctly. But farming that one, and I now have all the parts, and it's researching as we're recording this episode. So gonna have that soon. Finally got a different tactical round weapon, and that's just been my latest farm for First Descendant. Still enjoying it. I'm almost 180 hours, so that's been a lot of fun too. And then at Rhaiu, by the way, you still need to play. Come on, download it.
Yeah,
Download it and play it, bud.
I have it downloaded. Don't you worry. I still have it downloaded. I keep the game updated. It's funny hearing like your opinions now as opposed to when we covered this back in season 1, because it's okay. And I say this because I understand we're gamers and we have different interests and everything. You're at 180 hours at this point. I'm still at 308 hours and I haven't touched it.
That's funny.
So it's like I understand you're like, oh, you're hitting that point in the game that I hit like so early on where it's like, oh cool, I'm getting these weapons now, these new descendants. And it's really cool to see and watch you just enjoy getting those things. And the fact that you have an opinion on like, oh, the beam rifles are terrible. And it's funny to me. It really is funny to me. And about the Greg's Reversed Fate, oh, it's a terrible weapon. It was all right back in the day.
Well,
like that's what people ran.
It's just not fun to use.
I mean, it's a 3-round burst gun. It's different than using like an M16. But I want to get back into it. There is a lot of games now that we're adding Deadzone Rogue to it, plus the other games that I'll have in mind. The list is growing, and for me, if I get into the First Descendant again, it's going. I feel like it's going to be just as heavily as it was when I first started the First Descendant, and I'm going to be looking at. All right, I missed out on a lot of content. I need to know what descendants I need to go get. I need to know what weapons I need to go get. I need to go figure out how to optimize these guys. And that 300 is going to quickly turn into 1,000.
I think you just wait until the next season starts. Like, give it like 20 days, you know?
See, that's fair. When the new battle pass and the new season starts out, then sure, yeah. I will jump back into it. And believe me, I will grind and I will do everything I can to reinvest into that game. But
I did finish the battle pass. Speaking of the battle pass, thank you for reminding me. Yes, finish that. Well, dude, the battle passes are kind of easy to get if you like play every day. I'll be honest. It's really easy to get max level if you play. And I don't mean like you have to play a ton. I just mean like log in for 15 minutes and do 3 or 4 missions, maybe avoid intercept or 2, and then out. And you can get a good, or run the broken boundary areas and you're good. You know, like you can get the battle pass with a relatively minimal time effort. Or you could play for 2 or 3 hours on the weekend and get a good amount done. However you game.
And that was always something that I praised TFD for, was their battle pass system. I mean, they really do make it very simple for you to complete it. You have the daily missions, you have your weekly missions, and then you have your seasonal missions. And your seasonals don't all release immediately. They're gradually across the quote unquote season for the battle pass. So you always have something to kind of look forward to within those, couple of weeks that the battle pass is out there. So it doesn't take a whole lot, and they're very simple from what I remember of these missions. Go defeat some enemies, go spend some money, go do this type of mission, go kill enemies with this type of a weapon, things like that. Which if you really kind of just jump in, do your daily mission, focus on those, then you'll get it real quick. So it's nice to see that even after all this time, they're still consistently doing that, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So highly recommend TFD as well. First Descendant. Now, finally, one of my favorite things to talk about lately is trading cards and trading card games. I've really, especially since December, and I mentioned it last episode too, that I have really enjoyed collecting different trading card games. I finished a Pokemon set this weekend, or not, well, partially this weekend, but the last few days. I have opened a whole box of Arcasia's Island packs. And sadly, no full art enchanted cards, but I'm only 14 cards away from completing the Arcasia's Island set. So super hype about that. It took a really long time. It took a couple hours to go through and sort. And I love it. It's so much fun to organize cards in a binder, to sort them by color and by alphabetical order into deck boxes and stuff like that, and separate them out, and look at that, I got this card, and I had this common but now I have a foil, and so I can replace it with that. And it's especially putting them in a binder and then being able to flip through the binder and look at all of the different illustrations and the arts for Lorcana. It's been so much fun. Reign of Jafar released this weekend, the weekend that we're recording this. And so I will be slowly opening those over the course of the next week or so and organizing them. I've been, again, having so much fun. And then I also, when I first got into Lorcana 2 or 3 months ago, I bought a couple of starter decks. I bought the Scrooge McDuck deck, the Snow White Dwarf deck, the Scar deck, and the Tigger Jim Hawkins deck. And so I finally got sleeves for this. I found some sleeves for the Scar deck, or I got some sleeves for the Scar deck. And I got so I have the deck box and the sleeves and the Scar deck. I've got the Scrooge McDuck box, sleeves, and deck, and then the Snow White box, sleeves, and deck. And it's been fun just putting all the cards into the sleeves. And I'm a little bit sad with the quality of the Lorcana sleeves, in general, all three of them. They're not super smooth. They don't shuffle super well, but still the art on the back is vibrant and it's nice. The sleeves are relatively good quality. They don't shuffle very well. They're not super slippery, which some people like. That the deck stays together when it's standing there, but then when you're trying to shuffle them, it makes it a little bit difficult. But either way, not too bad. Been having a lot of fun with that. And then also, I learned how to play Magic the Gathering because I bought into the pre-release event this upcoming Friday at my local game store. And the main reason I did, because I thought there was no way that I could get any Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering packs, which I kind of wanted to, but I didn't. I wasn't super attached to it or anything like that. I wasn't I have to, but I wanted to. And so then I found that they had spots open for the pre-release event. I could go, and I'm going to get 6 packs, and then you open them, and you get to make a deck out of those packs and play in an event. And if you win, if you win one, then you get an extra 2 packs. So if you win a game, then you get more packs. So I thought, okay, that sounds fun. Even if I don't keep the cards, I trade them away or I give them to a friend who's really into Magic or something like that, because I'm not gonna play. I have no desire to, but it's fun to just have that experience, and it's also Final Fantasy, which is a IP that I enjoy. Played a lot of Kingdom Hearts. We even covered Kingdom Hearts on the show, and they had a very heavy Final Fantasy influence. I played a good amount of Final Fantasy, the games too. So having that kind of background, it's going to be a fun thing. I'm excited. It's coming up this Friday, and that'll be my next kind of exciting thing that I'll talk about on the show. I'm excited for the next episode, but yeah, looking forward to that as well. And I actually learned how to play. It's very similar to Lorcana, which I like. But yeah, that's just been a lot of fun. And collecting Bloomborough, still collecting the Bloomborough cards. I have, I think, 12 packs left to open. And so organizing and sorting those has just been a ton of fun too. Highly recommend trading cards if anyone gets into those IP. Pokemon, Lorcana, MTG, Star Wars Unlimited too. We have a lot of listeners out there who enjoy Star Wars Unlimited. So yeah, trading card games are fun, especially at the local shops. Rhaiu, what have you been gaming on, man? You've heard me sitting here yapping for this whole time. What have you been playing, man?
No, that's awesome. I love hearing the games that you're diving into. So for me, I've kept it pretty simple. Star Wars: The Old Republic, that has been my bread and butter for the last little bit. Just playing on the Republic side. I spent a lot of time on the Sith side during my first. If I go according to my Steam log, I am at 1,700 hours in the Old Republic, just in Steam. Now, mind you, that was well before. This game is well older than being ported to Steam, so let's add another 1,000 hours, so 2,700 hours in total across this game. Probably the majority of that being spent on the Imperial side of things. So I've been enjoying the Republic side, the good guys, seeing and experiencing the story of the planets from the Republic side has been really cool. And just seeing the different interactions that you have with some of the characters in the later DLCs. Like, I remember how I interacted as an Imperial person. Now playing as a Republic, it's very different, which is cool. Definitely a lot of replayability with that. Also, some of the different flashpoints or dungeons that you have access to on the Republic side are a little different. They're very similar with some of the mechanics, and the visuals. However, it is still a very interesting change, and a good change. So that's what I've been diving into with that. It is the new PvP season for Star Wars: The Old Republic. So what they do, just like every game nowadays, they have battle passes. But what they have is they have their regular battle pass, and then they have their PvP battle pass. Their PvP battle pass goes off of the seasonal instance before, when they had ranked. That's kind of how they would do it. So now with a new PvP season comes new rewards. You get new cosmetics, all these different things. So I'll dive into more of that a little bit later. But I've been enjoying that. Also been trying to get more into the operations side of the game. That has been something that's a little bit more difficult, especially when you do just random queue it. You don't really have a full dedicated group. So some of those that you have done before, you're very familiar with the mechanics, or I'm very familiar with the mechanics of them. But some folks are new and they haven't experienced it yet. So it's kind of like teaching new people, but you're not really getting, I want to say, the long-term benefit of that, in the sense that they're going to be a part of your guild. You go into these instances again with those same individuals who now they know what the mechanics of these fights are and things like that. So, but that's been the main goal, is just to try and experience more of the PvE content in addition to the PvP stuff. I've also been trying to grow the guild, the Unholy Muppets on the Starforge server. Shout out if anyone listening wants to play on the Republic side of the Starforge server. You are more than welcome to join us. Just like I said, growing, just trying to get more folks interested in the game and the different aspects of it. I've also been revisiting a favorite I know Atrax, you enjoy this game. Throne and Liberty, or Seat and Subjugation.
I hate this game so much. I just want you all to know that this game is why the Variety Gaming Podcast slowed down. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, actually, kinda. Kinda. I don't know. This game took Rhaiu away from the Variety Gaming Podcast.
It did. And that's what happened with being a guild leader. You know, just trying to do everything.
It's so boring, man. If you want to hear me complain, go check out the Seat and Subjugation Throne and Liberty episode. Throne and Liberty and Old Men.
Yep,
is what it's called.
Exactly.
I think it's season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, so revisiting that and doing it for a different reason, the game visually was really good, and the combat system I enjoyed coming from playing New World for the longest time, and I wanted to revisit this in not so much a let's grow a guild and do all this. I wanted to experience it a little bit differently. I wanted to play the game and just, you know, focus on PvE stuff. I'll be honest, I'm kind of getting a little burnt out on the PvP side of things, and maybe that's just because I'm getting older or, you know, I'm slowing down. But like playing PvP and MMOs is rough, and yeah. Anyway, so I've got SWTOR for my PvP itch, but for Throne and Liberty, like I said, I love the gearing system. I love the combat system. The visuals is really good. The story is really interesting. It is a fun game, and I feel that I didn't really give it that very of a chance, especially when, you know, when you start getting into leading guilds in MMOs, it becomes a lot more than you're just playing the game at that point to enjoy the game.
It's a job.
It is a job. And
it's a job.
That's like you said, you know, we joke around about, oh, that took me away from VGP. It honestly did. Like, that's the honest truth, is that running a guild and an active guild at that point where you're trying to progress and you're trying to do all of these things, that's your game. Like, you're stuck there. You have to do everything. Mm-hmm. You're managing people. You're managing events. You're doing all of those things. And it you know, it was a full-time job, essentially. And so I wanted to experience this a little differently. Yes, we did make our own guild, but this is a little bit more laid back and casual. We're not going to try and progress things and do all that sort of stuff. But it's going to be there just, you know, whenever we get the itch to play Throne and Liberty again, you know, it's there. The guild's there. You get all the progress and stuff that you want to do. It's there. That's the idea of it this time around. It's just to have fun and experience the game as it is intended, now that the hype for the game has sort of died down. In updates for them, they have increased the level cap from 50 to 55. They've also redone the weapon mastery tree. It is, in my opinion, much, much better than it was on initial launch. It is a lot more detailed and a lot more benefiting for different play styles. I've looked at the tanking tree for the most part, and a lot of that is really good. You know, it really benefits people who want to play more of a defensive style. So that was cool. Some of the footage that you'll see on the screen from me is coming from Throne and Liberty, but it's going to be coming from a leveling standpoint. I'm not max character or anything like that for what you're seeing, but it is going to be from the wand and the longbow, which is more of a support build. I'm decided to go healer for our little group here, just so that way we have somebody who is familiar with the mechanics of some of the entry-level dungeons and can just support and heal and, if need be, carry for certain things. So that's what you're going to be seeing on the screen there. Like I was saying, they've made a lot of changes. I will say that it is really interesting coming from playing on launch of this game to now, when you go to some of these starter areas and how empty they are, or like very scarce, you'll find a person here, a person there type thing. It's really interesting. Because going into the town on launch and it being so packed and everybody interacting with everything and the world chat is just flying on your screen, to now it's like you'll get a couple of messages here and there. Obviously, you have your guild recruitment messages, you have your people who are toxic and want to trash talk. But other than that, it's really, really interesting to see such a diverse change. Now, one thing I will say, and Atrax saw this and he was kind of thrown off, there are more people playing Throne and Liberty than are playing the First Descendant. So,
yeah, it's sad.
It is, and be that as it may, but that's the world of those types of games. I mean, the First Descendant is a looter shooter and a collection based game. So, like, once you collected everything, you're kind of done.
Well, and Yeah, well, and also too, I think that I mean, they're different games, right? Even though they're kind of MMOs. Like one is a little bit. I would say that the Throne and Liberty genre is in general more popular, right, than First Descendant, and a lot of people went back to Destiny and to Warframe after playing First Descendant for a while, which is fine. Like, I understand that I'm in the minority of people that enjoy First Descendant in comparison to some of the other options out there. But I don't know. Throne and Liberty is just maybe it's the people that fell asleep on launch and they haven't woken up yet. They're still snoozing.
Maybe.
Every time they wake up, they like see Throne and Liberty and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was playing this game. Hold on." They make it like a quest and then they fall back asleep.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
Now, what I will say to your point about a lot of people kind of going back to Warframe or Destiny 2, recently on my TikTok feed, I have started to see a lot of people revisiting Outriders.
Oh, interesting. I forgot about that game.
A similar game, similar looter shooter. This one you just have, superpowers. You got your fire, you got your time, machines, earth, all that kind of stuff. That game, I played that game so much when it came out. I tried to get more people involved in it. They just, people didn't get interested. Great game. It's really interesting to see a lot of people revisiting some of these older games. And they're like, yeah, this is similar to the First Descendant. I'm like, yes and no. Like, once you pick your power, you're kind of stuck in your power. And then it's just like a gear climb. So a little bit more Destiny 2-esque without the PvP. Like, there is no PvP option in Outriders and stuff like that. But it was an interesting game. So it was just fun to see people revisiting that old title. But yeah, so Throne and Liberty, it's been the other one I've kind of slotted in there. Whenever I get tired of Star Wars Old Republic, I'll just pick up Throne and Liberty again. Outside of MMOs, I have picked up RuneScape Dragon Wilds. This was a game that I was super excited about. I grew up with playing the original RuneScape, and then which I guess is now RuneScape Classic, and then you have the new RuneScape.
Old school RuneScape, yeah.
Yep, old school RuneScape. But now Dragon Wilds is the survival MMO, I want to say, because it really still is true to the MMO feature, which I just recently found out. Whenever you make a character and you put that character on a server to start out, for example, the servers are hosted by whoever created the server, who started it. So you're kind of like in a limbo phase waiting for that person to boot up the game for you to then be able to progress on that server. But your character, you can start your own little world by yourself if you want to just progress in the skills for that character. The character progress, the map progress, all of that sort of thing, like even your building progress. So like if you've discovered certain weapons, being able to build certain things, all of that carries over with you based on that character. It's not based on the server, which is really cool. I did not know that because I've been just kind of like waiting for the person who started our server to get on to open the server so we can continue to progress in it. Now that I booted up last night and brought that character over, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I can still make progress in the game.
Yeah, I love just want to interject real quick. I love the solo aspect of RuneScape Dragon Wilds because, like, for me, I really don't play those games at all unless there's somebody, like, I will not create my own world. But in this game, I have because of that reason that my progress will transfer over into a server if I want to, like, with my friends.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's something that's really cool. Now, there's not a whole lot of new content that they have added since I stopped playing. And I think the last time I played was at the beginning of May. So I went the entire month of May without playing. There just wasn't a whole lot added to it. Now, we haven't fought the dragon or done any of that content and that sort of thing, but what I mean as far as content, if you pick up ranged weapons, for bows, there's no sort of progress tree. There's no additional unlocks, no better bows, none of that stuff is in the game currently. Same with magic. Right now, it's just kind of your hand-to-hand combat type thing, your regular attacks. So that's something that for me is kind of like a letdown because I would really like to see some of those trees added into the game for progress, and I'm sure that they will. Like I said, it's only been a month. They did on Steam. They do have an announcement as far as their idea. Let me just make sure I'm quoting this correctly. The TMIA this month in Ashenfall, I guess, is going to be their new newsletter for the fans, and their overall idea, from what I see here, yeah, the intention is to always deliver an update at the end of a quarter. At the end of every 3 month cycle, you can expect an update. So it looks like we're going to be getting quarterly updates from the game. Obviously, this is something that they are working in progress as we are playing it. So, we'll probably hit like a content wall and that'll be the end of it. But at least they're giving the feedback. Now, from what I understand, this game was not given a whole lot of hype as far as publicity, advertising, anything like that. They just released the game. And for those that don't know, that's very uncommon nowadays in the gaming world because that's something that kind of drives your purchasing, your pre-purchasing, all that kind of stuff, the metrics that corporations kind of look at. But the fact that they're still contributing to RuneScape, the new RuneScape, I think it's RuneScape 3. There's still content going on there, and these are the same people. This is just something that they wanted to do is, I guess, put a RuneScape title in the survival crafting world. I don't know, but it's a lot of fun.
I also want to throw out they're doing stuff with old school RuneScape too.
Wow.
And end game content they will mix up every once in a while, and they try to keep it respecting the game, like the rest of the game. They don't want it to now start to feel like the new RuneScape. It's just seasonal stuff. And they also have in old school RuneScape, if you're a member, stuff that you can vote on. So they'll ask hey, what do you think about this? And they'll just give you 3 or 4 options and the community gets to vote. And then whatever the choice is, that's what they go with. So Jagex as a company behind at least specifically RuneScape, and I imagine now RuneScape Dragon Wilds, because same company, like you said, will be very good about community outreach and updates and stuff like that, like you mentioned, quarterly. So definitely a game worth supporting,
Oh, for sure. And if you're a fan of the survival crafting genre, I know we covered back in season 1, we covered Once Human.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of the feedback that Atrax and I had for Once Human was just at least for me, the building was so clunky and just hard to work with, and it just made things overly complicated. This building is how it should be. I mean, it snaps on perfectly fine. It doesn't give us a hard time with the building. It's very simple, but it's also very intricate in the sense that if you want to have this big elaborate base, you can build that. You can go right through and do all of that sort of thing. If you want a simple base, just because you're going out and you're exploring an area and you just want to not have to walk all the way back and forth, but you just make this quick little one, you can do that. So the building of RuneScape Dragon Wild is really good. The combat's really fun. I like the raid, the quote unquote your base is being raided mechanic where the goblins will come in, and it's random too. It's not like it's a set time period. It'll be in the middle of the night, it'll be in the middle of the day, it doesn't matter. So it's you got to be careful if you go AFK in your game, and you're going to get raided. And the raid doesn't stop just because you die. No, you die, they're still going to knock your base down, destroy everything. That's the whole point of it. So it really kind of goes into a little bit more. If you're looking at trying to defend your base and build it to a way that you can defend it, it's oh, maybe I put walls here. Well, and they don't have anything at least that I have found, spikes or, things that you can physically defend your base. You have to go fight them. You have to pick up a weapon and fight this stuff. You can build walls, but that's it. Also, I think my favorite thing by far, the dragon just at random points will just, I'm going to go shoot acid at everything because I'm bored. And the music changes and you hear him and he moves so fast. And he's flying through the sky and you see him over here in the distance and then he's right on top of you the next second and he's shooting acid everywhere. And it's really kind of cool. The dungeon exploration in Dragon Wilds is really fun. I do like how it's puzzles. They're not overly complicated puzzles, but they are there. They will make you think. I know one of the ones that I've done is like you have to time it because you have spike strips coming up from the ground, over from the sides, and then you got enemies shooting at you at the same time. So being able to navigate that in a way, or beat them with magic, however your play style is, it's a lot of fun. And I recommend picking it up if you're a fan of, again, the survival crafting genre, or if you're just a fan of RuneScape and wanted to try something a little bit different than just the 2D clicker. So give that a shot. My last entry for games, I know I went a little bit longer this time, is Rematch. Rematch had another short little beta session that I was excited to jump in and play. Our good friend Frozen Cheddar letting us know about that one as well. This is a game I feel is going to rival, if not beat, Rocket League for, I think, a competitive sports game in an arcade sense. So Rematch, and I wish I got footage of it as we're recording this. During the pre-show, I was talking with Atrax. It's like, I forgot to record. I should have recorded it. This is a game that mixes regular standard soccer or football for our international audience with the elements of Rocket League, in the sense that you can bounce it off the walls. There's no out of bounds. There's no penalty kicks. There's none of that stuff. None of that. And it makes it really interesting because it's like, as you're going down the field, you can like kick it off the wall to make a pass, or kick it off the wall to get a shot past the goalie, and all of these weird mechanics. There's dribbling between your feet. There's, rainbow kicking it over competitors. There's slide tackling. There's stand tackling, like all the things that you would expect in soccer. But it's really a lot of fun, and it's something that I feel, as you play, that skill ceiling is going to get higher, but not to the point of like Rocket League, where people are doing like aerial tricks and, doing all of these fancy high mechanically demanding things in the game, because it's still regular soccer. You are limited by gravity, and you are bound by those physics. However, you can bounce it off the wall. You can bounce it off the backboard and things like that. If you do decide to play goalkeeper, be on your toes. It is all a mind game playing as the goalkeeper. I enjoy the goalkeeping. I've always enjoyed goalkeeping in sports games just because it's a little bit more interesting. I'm the type of person that like to sit and watch and see how people are playing, see if I can notice any kind of patterns to their game. They like to pass here. They like to shoot this way, that way. Just that's how I am. But man, when you're playing as goalie, there are so many different ways. Like if they go off the backboard, you got to be able to read it and time it. If they do like this little light rainbow kick over you, you got to be able to read it. If they do a power shot, like everything is all a mind game if your teammates aren't there. So Rematch is a fun game. It does release, I believe, according to the Steam page, it's anticipated June 19th is when that game will fully release. I believe it is $30. I'll be picking it up hands down. And that's probably going to be a game that you're going to hear a lot from me about, because there is a ranked system in there, and I plan on diving into that. There will be battle passes and all of that jazz to look at. The cosmetics for the characters are really interesting. I like how there's not really any limitations. If you want a prosthetic leg or a prosthetic hand, that's in there. It's different. It's unique and weird, and it's really cool. But it is a fun game that for sure will give Rocket League a run for its money.
I'm gonna have to give it a go when it comes out. It does sound fun.
You should. Me and Chet have been playing it, and we're going through Rematch withdrawals. Like, you just kind of sit there, and the games are quick. They're really, really quick, because the mercy rule is you get 4 goals more than your opponent. At 4 goals, that's it. The game's over. It doesn't make you keep on going like Rocket League does. Also, it's a straight time. There is no extended time or anything. Now, there is overtime, and the overtime goes until somebody scores. But that's it. Like it makes it to where you could jump in, get a good couple of matches in, and then you're done for the day. Or you go for longer sessions, you can get a really good amount of games in for such a short time frame. Now, onto our genre of the season. You've heard us talk a little bit about the MMOs that we mentioned. I know TFD technically may or may not be considered, but I consider it one. Atrax mentioned that, but Atrax, how about yourself, man? What have you enjoyed so far for our MMOs this season?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about WoW last episode and how I had been playing on Cataclysm and Anniversary Classic, and that's true, but recently my WoW sub ran out. I'm waiting for Missa Pandaria at the end of June to resubscribe. And in the meantime, I'm playing Guild Wars 2 again. So I saw some cinematics and trailers for the latest expansion. They were recommended in my YouTube, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Watched it. The latest expansion is Janthier Wilds, and I thought, okay, well, that's cool. We got our genre of the season. Let's revisit it a little bit. Highly recommend. Always a fun time. Like with Star Wars The Old Republic, the main story is free to play. The MMO itself has a top tier free to play model, just in my opinion, just like with Star Wars The Old Republic. The amount of stuff that you can do and play for free for just having an account is a lot, and even more incentive to buy the game or to buy just one of the expansions. It's cool because the end game, they keep the level cap the same. Now, maybe that's changed in Janthier Wilds. I don't actually know. But every expansion previous has kept the level cap the same. And some people, oh, well, why wouldn't they increase the level cap? Doesn't that make the zones, like, quote unquote, boring to clear because you're not really gaining anything? But that's not true. The way that they have Guild Wars 2 designed, when you complete a zone, you gain resources that you can use in order to craft new weapons or things like that, because each zone doesn't have like a traditional quest system. Each zone has a completion rate, and those like the little tasks that you do in the zone, they appear as little icons on your map. Those are the quests, and then when you complete all of the little quests in the zone, then it completes the zone. And the scaling that they have in Guild Wars 2 makes it so that it's beneficial, even if you're a high level, to go back and clear the zones. You can get scaled experience to keep leveling, or you, again, get those materials for completing the map and the world. And those materials help you gain endgame items, which it's really, really well built, and it rewards zone completion, even though they haven't increased the level cap. And the fact they haven't increased the level cap also lets people just play whatever zone they want to. And again, with the scaling, with how this game works, if, Rhaiu, if you're level 30 and you're clearing out a certain zone and I'm level 50, I can just run over to the zone you're at and it scales me down and we can complete the zone together, and we still both benefit for completing the zone. So it makes it a lot more accessible to help out friends, to help out other people, to group up with people. And then too, once you complete the main story and you're level 80, you can play any of the DLCs. You can go into any of them, and all of them grant different exciting things. Some of the DLCs grant flying mounts. Some of the DLCs grant the ability to use a glider. And it's true, they've fast-tracked some of those things, but they still reward you for working hard and completing the zones. I believe one of the zones grants like abilities to your flying mounts and stuff like that. So highly recommend Guild Wars 2. Each expansion adds something exciting and new to the game. Each expansion is unique in their zones, and highly recommend Guild Wars 2. It's so much fun. And it's not a subscription based MMO. When you buy something, you just own it. Like $25 for one of the expansions, and you just own it, and you can go in there anytime you want. So really, really highly recommend Guild Wars 2. It's a great casual RPG, and even if you're a hardcore MMO player, it's still there's still plenty to do, you know?
Yeah, I got to revisit Guild Wars 2. For the longest time, that was one of the games, I think back when, oh goodness. Back when we were, you and I were playing it. Yeah, you and I were playing it. We had a couple of other members playing it a little bit more consistently. Yeah, I think that's the last time that I did touch that game. I enjoyed it. Like, it is a very well done MMO, and in my opinion, an underrated one at that, because I don't really hear a whole lot about Guild Wars 2 much anymore these days. Maybe that's because the level cap hasn't been raised, but I like the inclusivity of the game, and it was visually appealing. I just added it back to my Steam library so I can re-download it and revisit it in the meantime. So for me, sorry about that, I had a cough there. So for me, with my genre of the season, I mentioned before playing Star Wars Old Republic, the PvP season has officially begun. And what that means is I am getting frustrated all over again at people.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how it is when a new season starts, right? All the seasonal noobs.
No, absolutely. Sorry about that. I'm over here dying. Yeah,
Rhaiu's dying. We'll don't worry. I'll clip to the video, and it'll just
just see me red over here
you dying. Yeah. No. We'll cover it over with, I don't know, Guild Wars 2 or something. Whatever.
That works. But anyway, so yes, being frustrated. So for those that don't know, PvP, player versus player in MMOs, is notorious for being either very heavily one-sided in favor of one team or the other. It's very, in my opinion, very rare that you get a decent match.
Yeah, that was my experience in PvP too. That's why I didn't play very much.
Yeah, it is very, very hard to get a very decent game where it comes down to it's very close or things like that. And I feel like that's just because a lot of people, at least in Star Wars: The Old Republic, are more driven by how high the number is when it comes to their damage, and not so much the objectives. A lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic games, or their PvP modes, are based on objectives and objective play. You know, we have Hutball, which is some of the footage that you guys are seeing from my end is Hutball. And I believe there's one in there, a Hypergate or a Novara Coast, or there's a lot of different game modes that center around the objective play of players. And unfortunately, after you've played every single game mode for so many years, I mean, like I said, I'm up to, I think, over 2,000 hours in this game, where you've played every single one of them. A lot of people just kind of tend to, okay, I'm just going to go in here and deal damage, and that's all I want to do is deal damage, which is fine. You know, again, to each their own. Everyone has their right to play however they want. It's crazy to me, though, because the PvP season progress actively rewards winning as opposed to losing matches. So if you were to play, 10 matches and win all 10, you're going to make more progress than somebody who lost all 10 or won 5. Or even if you win 5, you made more progress than somebody who lost 10. Things like that. So it pays to, it rewards you a little bit more to play objectively, and also not just in the PvP season do you get rewarded more, but you're also given a second chest, which...
Rhaiu's dying again.
Sorry, it's the joys of having a toddler in daycare. They'll bring all kinds of stuff.
It's okay. Yeah, we understand.
So, anyway, you get rewarded for chests or like reward chests if you win the games. So you win the games, you get more. You get more progress. So it's almost like it incentivizes you to actively want to win the games and play the objective. But unfortunately, that's not the case with PvP anymore. And I think that's just because they took the ranked mode out of the game, which the ranked mode was the arena mode that's in Star Wars Old Republic right now. And that's what it is just a straight death match. But nobody wants to go into the arena to play the death match because it's like, oh, then you have all the really sweaty, try-hard people, and that's just not fun. So I'm going to go into these objective-based games and have more fun that way. So, as a person who just wants to play the PvP for what the PvP is, objectives, run the hut ball, score the hut ball, grab this node, grab that node, that's more fun to me than just going in and killing people, but to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you want to just have a straight up brawl, then join the game mode that's just a straight up brawl, and if you get wrecked, well, get better. But if you're joining the objective game mode and you're not even bothering for the objective, or you're just like always brawling not over the objective, it's one thing if you're always on the objective constantly fighting, but if you're just off in La La Land starting random duels with anybody that comes across your way, then it doesn't really help the team, and like you mentioned, it doesn't help your season progress either.
Right. And there is ways that you can track these things. There is an objective column on the score sheet at the end of the war zone, so you can see who's actively doing the objective and who's not actively doing the objective. So it's not like you can't hide that you're not doing it. Everybody could see it. But again, folks care, folks don't care. Either way. The gearing for Star Wars Old Republic at level 80 is still very interesting to me, and I wish that it would go back to the old way. If you haven't played the Old Republic in a while, there's 2 random NPCs you have to go talk to that are like, oh, we need you to destroy this type of armor for us at this rating, and then we're going to give you the ability to buy the mods at that rating. And it just kind of makes you scratch your head because there's probably a better way to do that. But for some reason, that's just the way they want to do it. And then it's progressively the same. I think like gear, you can get up to like 345, 350 now, something like that. And it's all the same. Go get this piece of gear at this level, at this rarity, deconstruct it, and then we'll give you to where you can buy that stuff now. I guess. I don't know. It's still very weird for me and very interesting to do because you're having to go play the same content over and over again to get a gear up to upgrade one piece of gear. So that way you can then deconstruct that piece of gear so then you can buy upgrades for your armor at that certain level. As opposed to how it was before, in that as you hit that level, you can now buy it and you can have access to it. It just feels like there's this weird little unnecessary step to being able to gear your characters. So, and then especially if you're like most MMO players and you make more than one character, then you're having to repeat that process again and again and again and again and again. There are people who will say, oh, well, you just send gear from this character to that character. Yeah, you can. I get it. It is a loophole or a way around it. But again, it just feels like it's an unnecessary step to do. But
that's one thing that I like about Guild Wars 2 PvP is that it's separate from the other, like the rest of the MMO. So you have your, like, there isn't a level. It's just your gear and your abilities and which runes you take. And I haven't played a ton of PvP. I'm not a huge MMO PvPer, but that's one thing that I did like is as soon as you unlock PvP, you can just hop in there with your character and your class and set your armor and your runes and whatever you want, and then just go play PvP. And PvP has its own separate, like, unlock system of stuff that you can get. So that's just, since we're on the subject of PvP and MMOs, and you mentioned the gearing, that's one thing that I really like is your PvE and your PvP gear is separate.
Yeah, and I wish that was something that the Old Republic would incorporate into their system. I mean, it is and it isn't, because like your gear level is capped in PvP to 336, but there's more that you can do for PvE instances. You can have higher ratings. And I'm just like, I don't understand the need to do all of that, but I'm not a game developer, so who knows? Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this episode. It was wonderful to be back. Atrax, always good to talk with you again, my friend. Thank you so much for listening to us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, wherever it is you're currently listening or watching, now that a lot of these platforms incorporate video. So hello, wave to the camera. All right, perfect. Be sure to rate the show. Give us a thumbs up. Chat with us on X or Blue Sky at Variety Games Pod. Let us know what you thought about the episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, tell us in the comment section of your particular platform. We'll see you in the next one.